If you're letting your clients dictate when and where you shoot, then it's time to stop shooting in harsh midday light.
Today we are talking all about golden hour and why it's really the only time that you should be scheduling your photo shoots in. But before we jump into that, we want to introduce ourselves.
I'm Hunter.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are Hunter and Sarah Photography, a professional husband and wife wedding photography team.
We're also educators, and our goal is to help photographers to build strong foundations in both their businesses and their personal lives so that they can run profitable and sustainable photography businesses.
So if you have ever done a portrait session in harsh midday light, then we probably don't need to explain to you why we think that golden hour, which is the last hour or so leading up until the time that the sun sets, is pretty much the best time of day to shoot.
Yeah, and if you've never gone outside and done a photo shoot during golden hour, then we've also heard it referred to as golden hour, magic hour, and miracle hour.
True.
So if you've never shot during the golden hour, give it a shot. We would recommend that on the next bright and sunny day, take a friend, go outside and shoot and take a photo of them like at noon, sun directly overhead, and then later go outside again with that friend during golden hour, that last hour before the sun sets, and take another image with the sun behind them. You'll know immediately why people use words like golden, miracle, and magic to describe this light.
And there are really two reasons why why the light just sort of hits different. It's the angle and the intensity of the sun are just different in that last hour before sunset especially. You don't need us to tell you that for most of the day the sun is up, right? It's directly overhead. But as you get closer to sort of sunset, the angle starts to change, and what would have been maybe harsh shadows beneath your subject's eyes, between their nose, and shadows that really sort of accentuate, blemishes and wrinkles, that all sort of goes away when you start to put the sun behind your subjects as opposed to over top of them.
Yeah, the intensity is also different during golden hour. While the sun isn't, any less bright as it approaches the horizon, the light's actually hitting you and your subjects. The light that's actually hitting you and your subjects actually starts to soften. These two effects kind of together give you that like golden, glowy, dreamy vibe to your natural light photography.
And here's the thing. A lot of photographers, and this is especially true for newer photographers, forget that you are the professional, right? You, the person watching this video, the photographer. And we know, maybe you don't feel that way right now, right? Maybe you don't have, maybe you have a little imposter syndrome, maybe you're a little self-conscious because like so-and-so up the street has done more shoots than you, or the other photographer has been in it longer. But at the end of the day, don't compare yourselves to other photographers. Compare yourself to your clients. And compared to them, you have way more photography experience than they do. And so you are the professional in this relationship, and therefore you have the expertise, you have the experience, and you should be the one setting terms when it comes to the photography itself.
Yeah, so because of that experience, you don't need to always defer to what your clients want. And that is especially true when they don't realize that what they want is going to negatively impact their imagery.
And of course, we can't blame our clients for not knowing, the benefits of golden hour. And kind of because of that, there's always going to be clients who are like, well, if I can shoot, in the middle of the afternoon, or I can shoot right in the middle of dinner time, I'll take middle of the afternoon, right? And so, because in their minds, they're like, oh, well, if it's all the same, why not do when is more convenient for me?
And the answer to that question is that it's not all the same. As you know, or as you're going to learn when you practice, is that harsh midday light is going to be difficult to work with and yield those kind of unflattering results. So if your clients are pushing for midday, take the time. Educate them about how much better their images will look when you capture them during golden hour. And then when you do that, you empower your clients to just make the right decision for themselves.
And for all these reasons, when we have the ability to schedule in advance, which is always the case on like engagement sessions and family shoots, right? When we get to set the terms of when and where we meet, we always do it during golden hour. And if the sunset doesn't work, but we still really want to make that happen, sometimes we'll even do a sunrise session, which is sort of the other golden hour that we don't usually like to talk about.
Yeah, but that's super rare because your girl is not a morning person.
That is true.
There are, of course, situations where we can't schedule during golden hour, but we're going to address those a little bit later on.
Yeah. So, by the way, we do want to pause this video really briefly, just for like 15 seconds, and just make sure that you know all about our Facebook community, Mastering the Wedding Photography Biz with Hunter and Sarah.
Yeah, this is a community of people just like you who are also building their portrait and wedding photography businesses from the ground up. We are in that group almost every day, sharing new content, starting conversations, and answering questions from our students and members of the group. It's also what we use to figure out what video content we are going to make next. So if you want to have a say in what we produce, or just want to keep growing your business in a community of people or other photographers, then go ahead and check out the link in the description to join.
But anyway, jumping back into golden hour. Let's chat about a few things to think about when it comes to actually scheduling those golden hour sessions with your clients. And so the first one is that once you sort of back your session right up to when the sun sets, you cannot be late, right? And that goes for your clients as well, because if you or if they show up, 20 minutes late, it's not like you can ask the sun to set 20 minutes later, right? When that sun tucks behind the horizon, the session is over. You're out of light. It's time to stop shooting, right? And so you either have to work more quickly and then just like be okay with less images, or that's pretty much it. That's really your only option.
Yeah, but assuming you and your clients, everybody shows up on time, here is how we schedule our own sessions. The very first step is to just Google the date of your session, the location of your session that you're shooting in, and the word sunset. Sunset. You don't even have to click on a result. There's no options. You usually Google just gives you the answer right away.
Yeah, and just be sure you do this every single time you schedule a session, right? You cannot assume that, last weekend the sun set at 6:15, so this weekend it'll set at 6:15 again. Not only, in especially the spring and fall, the sunset can change by as much as a minute or two every single day. So it might have been 6:15 last week, but maybe it's 6 o'clock today. And then, of course, if you live in a place with daylight savings time, that one fateful day in March and then again in November, the sunset is going to jump forward or back by an entire hour in just a single night.
Yeah, once you have the official sunset.
That's the one that Google is going to give you when
yeah.
you Google the date, the location, and sunset.
Yeah, so once you have that official sunset, I want you to think about your location that you're shooting at. Is there anything to the west of the location that might block the sun and thus make it set earlier than the official sunset?
And if you don't know the answer to that, then obviously it would help to either scout in advance or at the very least look it up on some sort of satellite map, like Google Maps, do the satellite view, not the street view, so you can actually look and see, is there anything, that way to the west, or from my perspective, of where you're shooting. But we're going to use two examples, sort of extremes, to get this point across. And so let's say that you are going to be in, the west coast of the U.S. shooting out towards the ocean at sunset, right? That means effectively you are shooting due west over the ocean. The horizon is 100% flat, and so the official sunset is actually going to be when the sun sets.
On the other hand, there's a location that we absolutely love shooting at here in Charlottesville, where there is just this absolutely huge mountain immediately to the west. So during the summer sessions, or the summer months, when that sun hits the mountain, it effectively ends our session a full 45 minutes ahead of what Google tells us the official sunset is.
And that's why I mentioned scouting the location is really helpful, because if you showed up at a location like the one Sarah just mentioned, thinking we're going to do an hour-long session, Google told me the sun sets at 6:15, 15 minutes later the sun could set and effectively the session is over, and now you're scrambling to try to figure out, oh my gosh, how do I take photos after the sun is set and not make my clients mad, and do I ask them to reschedule, and you just don't want to mess with any of that, which is why shooting in a new location, sometimes it's worth it to go check it out ahead of time.
Yeah. The other thing to think about is actually cloud cover. We know that not every day has these bright golden sunsets or sunrises. If it looks like it's going to be a heavily overcast day during the golden hour, we actually try to move our session up by about 30 minutes or so, just because those heavy clouds block enough of the sun that it just gets darker a bit earlier. So we want to make sure that we're getting that even light on our clients' faces. And the same goes if you're shooting in the rain with umbrellas. Of course, the good news on those rainy days is that if you're shooting outside of golden hour, you get much softer light all day long. Clouds can be really great.
Yeah, if you look at these two images, these are from the same wedding day. The one with Ty and the guys was taken at like 2 or 3 o'clock. The one with Savannah and Ty together was taken at like 6 o'clock, which was technically during golden hour. Granted, this was like the very start of golden hour, and this is as we were finishing their portraits because, like Sarah mentioned, we like to move that up whenever possible. But you can see the light is very even and very similar between these two.
Yeah.
So, what about the times when you do not have an option to set the portraits during golden hour, right? Everything we've talked about so far is assuming that you are able to schedule things freely with your clients, but we know that that obviously isn't always the case.
Yeah, if you're photographing a family with small children, you're often going to have to work around nap times or bedtime schedules, no matter what the light looks like, which is honestly better for you. You want to work around nap time and bedtime schedules because then you get...
Do not want to mess with that.
No, you want happy babies. So we often end up doing surprise proposals kind of in the middle of the day as well, since with a proposal, it's more about being in the right place at the right time to make that surprise than it is about getting those like picture perfect portraits.
Right. Those are just two examples. Another one, of course, is wedding days, right? You can't squeeze an 8-hour wedding day into golden hour. So if you are a wedding photographer, you of course need to know how to capture beautiful photos in any light at any point during the day. But in every other situation, so everything that isn't, one of these exceptions, do everything you can to schedule as much of your working golden hour as possible. And of course, even on wedding days, yes, we're going to be out there from like 2 to 4 o'clock, let's say, shooting, the first look and some portraits with our couple and with their families and with their wedding parties. And none of that is going to be in golden hour. But whether the sun is going to set at 5:30 p.m. or 8:30 p.m., we're going to try and sneak them out for another, 15, maybe 20 minutes if we can, and get some of those beautiful portraits in that glowy sunset light.
But for all those days when you just can't help but shoot at midday, we're just going to have another video kind of later on for you guys, all about shooting during that midday light. In the meantime, get out there, educate your clients, and shoot some golden hour portraits.
But guys, that is it for this week. Thank you so much for watching this video. We really do hope that you now feel a little bit more confident to really educate and empower your clients as to why they should schedule their sessions with you during golden hour.
As a reminder, the link to join our Facebook community, Mastering the Wedding Photography Biz with Hunter and Sarah, that we mentioned earlier, is in the description below.
Guys, if you found this video helpful, please like, please subscribe, please leave questions or comments below in the comments as well. We do reply to those as well.
But thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.